Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking101 here. Sorry for the delay on this one a little bit, but we're getting back into the FULLBRINGERS, the Execution discussion series. Today we're talking about Riruka Dokugamine. Yes, this is a fun one, although I must apologize right out of the gate. I don't even know if you could really tell this much, but usually when I do these videos, I go into my Bleach collection and I take the tankobons and I put them up here. This is one of the ones, though, that has seen better days. And if you look on the top here, you'll see that this one actually came from the Queen's Library. So I got this probably off of like eBay or something years ago. One of the slips is on the back of it. Yeah, so that always amazes me that manga can sometimes be found in just libraries. And I've even heard like comments from people that say like, "Oh yeah, my high school library had manga, and that's how I started reading One Piece." I'm like, wait, back up. What? Because I was in high school like about 10 years ago, and let me tell you, there was no manga in the library, okay? It was a pretty big library, too. But yeah, if you ever lived in Queens, New York, you might have very well have read this exact same copy of Bleach Volume 51 that I am now holding in my hand. So everybody from Queens right now is, wait, yeah, I'm from Queens. Wait, did I go to that library? I did read that book. Okay. So, Riruka Dokugamine, which I originally erroneously thought, and it's a good thing I looked it up and I did some research before I did this video. For some reason, I thought her last name was Dokugami. Like, that's Dokugamine, but it was just like, I was gonna say Riruka Dokugamine, and I'd be a freaking idiot the entire video. Okay. So, she is one of the members of Execution that's a little bit more emotional, a little bit more expressive than the other ones. A lot of the Execution members, you kind of get the impression that they're just like really cool and stoic. You know, Ichigo walks into the Execution base with Ginjo, and up until that point, Ginjo seemed like a pretty cool customer, right? He's got the slick back hair, he's got the leather jacket, he's got the cross necklace, and he's like, "Welcome to Execution." So he opens it up, and what do we see? We get to see Giriko behind the bar, you know, like this fancy butler with a mustache, and then we see Jackie just chilling out there. Yukio's in the corner just playing his PSP. No one's really talking. It's not a really big, boisterous kind of nightclub or something where Ginjo took him. Everyone just seems to be kind of chilling out. Jackie's just on the couch, you know, like whatever. And then Riruka shows up, and everything immediately gets a lot louder, a lot more personality, I guess. That's what I'll go with. Riruka has a lot of personality. And it's one of the funniest scenes, honestly, in the entire arc, when Riruka shows up, and she doesn't know what Ichigo looks like. She knows that there's like this kid named Ichigo Kurosaki that's going to be showing up, and apparently he used to have Shinigami powers, and we're going to be trying to get his powers back so we can get our powers removed. Keep in mind, all of this was the fake memories that Tsukishima implanted in them and everything. This is already after he'd done all that, and their plan was already in motion. So Riruka thinks of Tsukishima as an enemy still and everything like that. But she gets back to the hideout. She brings Chad with her. And everybody's just like, "Oh, okay, this is Ichigo Kurosaki, and he's gonna help us." And Riruka's just like, wait a second, hold on, it's too damn dark in here. I can't even see what this guy looks like, and we're already talking about helping him and, you know, him joining us. Like, what is this shit? And she takes a flashlight. "I'm not letting him join until I get a look at him." And she clicks on the flashlight because the lighting in the Execution headquarters, let's be straight up, it was kind of atmospheric. They had like a lot of the mood lighting. They had the dimmer switches, and I love me a good dimmer switch, but that dimmer switch was set all the way down. She grabs like a giant mag light and just flashes it right in Ichigo's face, and Ichigo's like, "Ah, what?" And Riruka's expression is hilarious. Her eyes are already pretty big. I mean, even by anime girl standards, she already has pretty big eyes, and that was already something that was made fun of by Kubo. Kubo's like, "Oh, my eyes are so big, I need to take, you know, contacts, and my eyes get so dried out, you know, because Riruka's eyes are huge." But her eyes go huge in that one scene, and she's just like, her jaw drops, and just this little card appears over her, and she's like, you know, internal dialogue like, "Oh my god, he's so hot!" Like, "Oh my god, he's such a hottie." Okay. Everyone's like, "All right, Riruka, so are you cool with him joining us?" Yeah, sure, fine. And she kind of goes halfway tsundere with it, you know, where she's like, "Well, whatever, Baka, it's not like I want you to join or anything, but I guess since you're here already and you're so hot, I mean that you're so attractive, I mean, whatever. You know, you're just a delicious hunk muffin, but I guess I'm okay with you joining our group. That was so freaking funny, right? I'm reminded of the scene in SpongeBob SquarePants with Squilliam and Squidward, and Squidward's just like, oh no, he's hot! You know, like that scene. Oh my god, it was hilarious. And by the way, Ichigo has no idea, because Ichigo, he was just talking to everybody. He was talking to Ginjo. Ginjo's explaining what FULLBRINGERS are to him, and like the spirits of everything and all that crap. And then Riruka shows up and just like, what's going on in here? It's too damn dark. My eyes are too dried out. My god, who's this guy? Click. And Ichigo's like, who's the loud girl? And you know, like, that was funny. Okay, so Riruka's Fullbring is Dollhouse, or Dollhouse, and it's a pretty basic ability. At first, it seems to have a very unique condition to it, where she can only use it on things that she finds attractive or cute, but we find out later that that's not really that's a personal preference of hers, but that's not, like, an actual set limitation to the ability. So how the ability works is that she's able to insert anything that she finds cute, or anything really, into something else. Alright, so very much like Giriko's Fullbring, it's a very basic concept that has a lot of room to grow here. Giriko's Fullbring is, he sets timers on things, and I'm like, okay, very basic. You could either take that, like, I set this timer to get really strong, or you could set very convoluted and really multifaceted, layered kind of timers. You put a lot of thought into it. Kind of the same thing with Riruka. She could put things into other things. In more anime speech kind of terminology, she can compress anything. And when I say anything, like, she literally compresses an entire dimension into a box. So, anything. She can compress a person, an object, or an entire dimension into another space. Now, the dimension that she compressed was the Valley of Screams that were like those little pocket dimensions floating around the Garganta. So it wasn't a very big, you know, space that she was compressing. It wasn't like she was compressing all of the Earth into a single space. I don't think she could do anything like that unless she had, like, maybe, like, someone else giving her, like, a tremendous amount of, Ryatsu or spiritual power to work with. Maybe she could, if she got powerful enough, right? Maybe if Riruka absorbed the power of the Reo, she could do something like that. Maybe, okay. But, basically, compressing things into other things. So, a few examples of this. The more basic attributes here, is the first stage of Ichigo's Fullbring training, where, okay, we have to train Ichigo, but all execution really has to work with is, like, this little bar lounge area. Like, they can't go out into the middle of the streets and train. You know, I guess they could get into a car and drive out to, like, a rock quarry, like, on the edge of town, but it's like, you know what's easier? Let's just do it here in this controlled environment. So Riruka literally just takes out a dollhouse, lays it on a table, and then she does this, and a little heart just pops out of her hand, and then she can, like, place that heart on anybody or anything that she wants to send into the dollhouse. And so she places the little heart tag on Ichigo, and she's like, I permit you. And then Ichigo immediately, like, okay, you permit me. What? And his body just gets sucked into the dollhouse. So it accommodates for whatever thing that she's putting into something else, whatever receptacle she's popping you into, your size automatically adjusts for that. So, for example, if she wanted to take, I don't know, the Empire State Building, that's a pretty big thing, I'm not sure if she could do that, it's pretty big, but if she wanted to take the Empire State Building and throw it into the dollhouse, it would literally get shrunk to the size of, like, a miniature into the dollhouse. Like, that's how it works, okay? So, Ichigo's whole body just gets shrunk down to the size where his, like, it would be a normal house, you know, so he gets placed in the dollhouse. And then she also does the exact same thing, actually twofold. She does the thing so you can stack the abilities. So what she does is she takes a Yakuza member, and she takes this, like, it's like stuffed bear thing. It's a pig. It's a stuffed pig, but I don't have a stuffed pig. She takes a stuffed pig, and then she's like, okay, I permit you to enter the pig. So she attaches the heart tag to the Yakuza member, who was not really super hot. It didn't, the Yakuza member really didn't seem to be Riruka's type. So that's implying, like, she could use the ability really on anything or anybody she wants. It doesn't necessarily have to be cute. And the Valley of Screams that she used later, Ichigo even mentioned, like, Riruka, there's no way you would find the Valley of Screams, cute. You know, so why would you compress that down into a box for us? You know, that means you must have went against your own personality and helped us out. So Ichigo was thanking her there. But yeah, so she compresses the Yakuza guy into the stuffed animal. So in this case, actually, like, taking the Yakuza member's body and soul and placing it in the confines of a stuffed animal. And she does the same thing with Rukia later on during the final battles of the Fullbringer arc, okay? So when they're in the body of the stuffed animal, they can move around and they can kind of do their own thing and stuff. It's just that they're stuck inside of a stuffed animal. The way that Rukia was able to do this, and it was a more augmented ability when Rukia got placed in it. At this point, Riruka had already gotten the upgrade from Ichigo's Fullbring powers. She got some, like, armor on her, like on her chest armor, and she also had these gauntlets with these R's on them and the giant hearts and, like, the horns sticking out, and she had an ability called Addiction Shot. So it was basically, like, same basic premise, except she could just kind of, like, and just fire off a heart and then just trap somebody inside of whatever she wanted. Just allowed more free range for that. Also gave her a stylish kind of thong piece of underwear that I just noticed a couple videos ago, so that's how that works too. And floppy bunny ears! Oh, they're so cute. Also, something else that tactically she has is the Rabu gun, or the love gun. And the love gun, it doesn't work like attaching with the heart mark. Basically what she does is, she can attach objects like dressers and things, and really anything, and she attaches that, and the receptacle for the objects is her Rabu gun, and it's basically just like a toy gun that has, like, liquid floating in it. So let's say she goes up to a dresser, and she attaches the heart to it, and it gets sucked into the Rabu gun. It's just kind of this little miniature, kind of like a piece of furniture for a dollhouse, just kind of floating around in this liquid, and then when she pulls the trigger, it fires out of the Rabu gun and expands out of nowhere. So it's kind of similar to, like, Beiji's Shiro Shiro no Mi from One Piece, you know, where he's a castle, and when they fire off cannonballs, they expand and then return to their original size. So literally, Riruka, at any given time, she could literally just go up to a bunch of anvils, like 2-ton anvils, regardless of the size or the weight or whatever, and just be like, I permit you, I permit you, I permit you, and just store anvils, or, like, giant, like, heavy objects, like spiked balls, and, you know, and just like barbells and all that stuff inside of the damn love gun. And then she could just, like, oh, you're a little girl, you know, okay, can you fight me? And just fire a giant anvil out and just smash somebody's face in. Like, now, because she only loves adorable things, she tends to only use, like, oh, this is a cute dresser. But it's still, like, if you're rolling up to a fight, and then she takes out the toy gun and fires it, and then, like, a giant dresser and a mirror is coming crashing down toward you. I mean, yeah, if you're a Shinigami, it's not a big deal. Like, if you're Toshiro Hitsugai, it's just like, freeze it, like, what the hell? Like, Hyorin Maru, the hell was that? Quit throwing dressers at me, lady! You know, but still, I mean, if you're just a normal human, yeah, that's a kind of a, you know, not exactly an orthodox method for fighting you, but it gets the point across. It gets the job done, you know what I mean? So yeah, but as when Rukia got placed inside of the stuffed animal, she could still use things like Shumpo, so she could still move around. However, her body and her soul are still inside of the doll. So whenever she tried to move using her Shunpo, it worked because she's inside of the bear or the rabbit. It was a stuffed rabbit Rukia was in. The rabbit moved as well, like, okay. And then she thought to herself, okay, if Shunpo works, then Kido should work too. And so she's like, so Katsui! However, there's still that barrier in between, like, soul and rabbit. So when she's like, so Katsui, it actually discharged inside of the rabbit, right in front of Riruka's face. Like, what? Okay, is that what you wanted to happen? So, it's actually kind of a troublesome ability. It really is. Now, Rukia was able to kind of one-up Riruka because Rukia has a lot more combat experience, and even though she didn't have fingers to hold on to Sode no Shirayuki, she could still connect with it through the ice and through her Ryatsu, and then she was able to activate the ability and then freeze Riruka anyway. You know, so it wasn't like, you know, oh, it's not like I'm a Shinigami. I don't have to physically, like, wrap my hands around my Zanpakuto in order to activate its power. It's in its Shikai. I can just, you know, touch it. It doesn't matter. So with my soul is the thing that activates the power, and then I can just freeze you. It might take a little while, but I can do it. You know, it's fine. So that's how Riruka kind of gets taken out there. But no, we're still talking about her ability, okay? So on top of putting the Yakuza member inside of the animal, she also places him inside of the dollhouse as well. So the ability can stack over and over again. I wonder if we have like the infinity problem here. Like, let's say, for example, you know, she does the same thing with Ichigo. She permits Ichigo to enter the dollhouse, but then once Ichigo is in the dollhouse, can she permit Ichigo to, like, enter a little piece of furniture inside the dollhouse so he gets smaller and then smaller again? I wonder if you could do that, but I'm assuming you probably could with her power there. Now, there was another ability she did have, although it was unnamed, where she has the ability to insert herself into another person or object. So she took her gauntlet, and then she, like, when the battle was almost over, she ran up to Rukia and just ran her gauntlet right into Rukia's chest, and then activated its power, and then Riruka just, like, went inside of Rukia's body, and then Rukia lost consciousness. And then Rukia woke back up later, and, like, Renji's like, Rukia, are you okay? And Rukia's like, yeah, I guess. It wasn't like, now, it might be possible, because of the way we've seen other objects work, it might be possible that Riruka could, like, literally take over somebody else's body, like, possess them, and move them around, like she's inside of them, like, possessing their soul or whatever. That's still a possibility. It's just maybe in that one particular instance, Riruka kind of knew that, like, Rukia wasn't really, like, her real enemy. Like, Rukia obviously was not trying to kill Riruka or anything like that. And so I think Riruka was more interested on how all this was going to play out, because that last half of the battle, when the battles were actually going on, when the Shinigami showed up and everything, and Ginjo got his memories back, and they were all returning to the way they were, Riruka seemed very, hesitant to fight that entire time. She just off in the background, like, everybody else was like, oh yeah, like, Giriko's like, yes, we have the power again! And then Riruka's just kind of off to the side, like, I guess we can fight, but I don't really know how I feel about this. You know, all the stuff we did to Ichigo and all of his friends, you know, Riruka generally did feel kind of bad for what she did about all that, right? So she did end up fighting Rukia, but you can kind of tell maybe her heart really wasn't in it the whole way. And when she inserted herself into Rukia, it was more to just kind of like scout it out, because while she's inside of Rukia, she could still see and hear everything that Rukia sees and hears, okay? And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, she can technically control people, at least to a limited degree, because how this whole thing ended was Tsukishima still being alive after being blasted through the damn chest by Byakuya, never gonna get over that. Tsukishima's like, yeah, how dare you, you killed Ginjo, Ichigo! And so he takes out his Book of the End, and he's gonna go attack Ichigo, and then at that last minute there, Rukia's body, like, moves on its own, like, whoa, like, moves in front of Ichigo, against her will, and then the little door opens up on Rukia's chest. I'm talking about a character named Riruka and also a character named Rukia, so yeah. Opens on Rukia's chest and, like, okay, pop, and then Riruka pops out, and she's the one that actually gets cut by Tsukishima. And she's like, oh, Tsukishima, how dare you? This is the cut that actually injures people. You know, you're gonna kill me because of this. And Tsukishima's like, what? No, I didn't mean to! You know, and so, yeah, Riruka survives, thankfully. She survives after the end of this. Yukio and her are both in the last arc, as well as, like, Jackie survives as well. So, yeah. But, that's how the ability works. So, yeah, she could technically control Ruki, at least in a limited capacity. So let's talk about her personality a little bit. I mean, she is kind of loud and boisterous, but at the end of the day, like I said, she did, I think, feel more hesitant to fight everybody at the end, and even after all the memories were returned to their original places, she really genuinely felt bad about what she did. She had a bit of a relationship going on with Orihime. When they were both in Yukio's little virtual world, Riruka would bring her, like, donuts to eat while Orihime was in there as the healing item, and they would have, like, conversations back and forth about Ichigo and stuff and everything, and Riruka's just like, oh, okay. And then they talked a little bit more about, like, not so much about Ichigo, but about their family and stuff. I think Orihime, like, opened up to Riruka about her parents and how they're dead and her brother and all that stuff. And Riruka, I think, was kind of... She's not the kind of person that would, like, break down in tears right there and be like, it's such a sad story. You've had such a rough life. It's good you have friends. Can I be your friend? But no, it's somebody that she's like, she listens to the story and she's touched by it, but she's not going to be, like, overly emotional about it, right? You know, that's the kind of person she is. A little bit tsundere, a little bit, actually a little bit more in the anime, because I think they had extra scenes in the anime where she was, like, stalking Ichigo around town and stuff. You know, like, oh, I'm scouting because execution, right? Yeah, I work for them. I'm going to make sure that Ichigo doesn't do something stupid. But in reality, I think she's just like, oh, yeah, he's really hot. I'm just gonna like follow him around town a little bit. So they add scenes like that in the anime a little bit there. But yeah, I liked Riruka. You know what? For some reason, and I don't even know why, really, because I don't think there's anything really in her character necessarily that leads to this, but when I first saw her character and the way she dresses and everything, I immediately thought, oh, she's French. I know what you're thinking. You're like, okay. It's like, I know, it's a weird connection to make, but, you know, like, Yukio is German. Yukio Hans Wernerburner, he's German. Jackie is, I believe, from a South American country, because the whole backstory with Jackie, which we might be talking about next time, the whole backstory with Jackie is that her father was like a drug cartel leader, or like he worked with a drug cartel, and you know, that's the whole origin for her and her dirty boots and everything like that. So either like South America or maybe like, you know, Latin America, Central America area around there. I think that's where Jackie is from. But anyway, yeah, so I thought, oh, okay, and you know, all the Fullbringers use English, so I'm thinking, oh, we're doing more, like, diversity here with, like, the characters, like, that's what, you know, Kubo is doing. So I'm thinking, oh, Riruka, probably French, and she isn't. I mean, I guess she might be. Maybe some of her family is from France. I don't know why I went with France, because I don't think this is how people typically dress in France. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's just like, hey, man, I've never been to France, granted, so maybe if I ever travel to France, I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, the people wear the same hats as Riruka, same outfits, yeah, that's just how they dress in France, so that's their thing there. Also, a little bit about her backstory we find out. We find out all of the Fullbringers' backstories through Riruka. When Riruka was fighting Rukia, and they're doing their little back and forth, Riruka kind of remembers what all the Fullbringers, like what their pasts were and what led them to be where they are right now, and that's where she had the whole speech about, you know, the survival of the fittest. Her basic speech and her philosophy on this to Rukia was like, you know, you think it's survival of the fittest that rule the world, like the strongest overpower the weak. Well, that's not actually true. The ones that rule are the ones that are in the vast numbers. So here's Riruka and all the other Fullbringers that have supernatural abilities, but they're not like Quincy, and they're not like Shinigami. They don't live in a different dimension. They're living in the mortal world. They're living in the living world, and in the same, and not in Karakura Town, but in a town close to Karakura Town. So they have to live in the modern day society with their powers, but having their powers didn't make them like more, you know, prevalent in society or more accepted. It actually did the exact opposite, kind of, because they realized at a pretty young age, it's like, no, it's the ones that have the numbers. And it doesn't matter if they're stupid or not, or if they're, you know, if they know what's best for society. It's like, that's just how society is. And so you learn that, and it's kind of a sad backstory for Riruka and everybody. And Riruka's personal backstory is that when she was like a little girl and she just first discovered her Fullbring, there was a guy from the neighborhood, an older dude, like a high school student. You know, she had like a little girl, like a crush on the guy, right? And she had that, and she attached a love stamp on the guy and had him thrown in like a chest of toys that she had in her room. And like, she would go in and talk to him every time, like, I really like you, you know, you're gonna stay in here forever, you know, that kind of thing, because she's a little girl. She doesn't really understand what she's doing and why it's so messed up. And the guy is just kind of living inside of the toy chest, and he's like, please let me out of here, please. But he can't say that, so it's kind of like that Twilight Zone episode where the little kid kind of has like the psychic powers to control everybody, and everyone wants to, like, you know, everyone wants to like get rid of this kid, but it's like they can't, because like he can just like psychically blow your head up if he wanted to. So he's just like, I was like, oh, that's a good thing you did there, Jeremy, that's a good thing you did. So you imagine this guy that's like locked in Riruka's toy chest is like, oh, hi Riruka, how are you doing? Yes, it was a lovely day I spent with Mr. Peebles inside of your toy chest. Oh, what's for dinner? Oh, more donuts, thank you. I mean, they were also for lunch and also for breakfast, and I'm starting to really feel kind of jumpy. Hey, can we go outside and like maybe run around and play? That would be nice. Do you like to play soccer? We can get out of here and play soccer, but you have to let me out of here first. You know, so that's probably the kind of back and forth that Riruka had with this guy. And then I think she finally did release him, and he was like traumatized for life. It's just like, you know, he probably moved away from Japan, and she probably never saw that guy again, right? You know, I was like, okay. I'm out of here, right? So that was the backstory of Riruka. Not quite as traumatic as like Jackie's backstory or Yukio's backstory, where like parents died in that particular instance. But yeah, still a pretty intense backstory there. But I'm liking that Riruka and Yukio came back in the final arc. It was just like, and I feel like it was out of like not just like she finds Ichigo attractive. It wasn't just for that reason, but she did feel genuine guilt for what Ginjo and the rest of Execution did, mentally screwing around with Ichigo and his friends and everybody. And maybe not so much Yukio. I don't know. Maybe Urahara just like, yeah, Yukio, you help out, I'll give you the new updated PSP, or I'll help out your company or something like that. But with Riruka, I think she's like, Urahara contacted her, like, we're gonna need your Fullbring in order to help out Ichigo and Huecamundo and everything, and help out with the Quincy War. And I think Riruka was probably like, yeah, okay, we did mess him over a little bit. I think we deserve to kind of pay that back. I mean, if Yukio wants to, that's great, but I think I'm going to do that because, yeah, I need to, like, set what is right here in this instance. And she did. So she compressed the Valley of Screams into a box, and then Yukio used his Invadas Mustodai around the box to add rails to it and electrical power so they can move in between spaces in the Garganta. And it was a really cool combination of their abilities, right? Now, Riruka doesn't really do anything beyond that. Actually, I think after the moment where she explains her power and she's there with Ichigo, and Orihime and her have a back and forth once again. But I think after that moment, after they arrive back at the Soul Palace, we don't see Riruka again for the rest of the arc. I think Yukio pops in one more time when he drops off Ginjo and Tsukishima, but we don't see Riruka. So yeah, Riruka probably either left the box, because Yukio had to stay in the box to guide it, but I don't think Riruka has to be there, but she probably was. She just didn't see her again. And also, to disengage the ability, this is kind of disgusting, especially in these times that we live in now. But yeah, in order to disengage her power after she shrinks somebody down, she has to sneeze on them. So she sneezes on the dollhouse, and then Ichigo and the Yakuza member, Mr. Pork, they return to normal size. So, yeah, that might not work so well in 2020 era, pandemic season, just like, hey, I have a magical ability, I'm gonna shrink you to a dollhouse. All right, I'm done now, I'm done training, I mastered my first stage of Fullbring, now what do I do? It's like, oh, now you come out, like, oh, how do you do that? Oh, I just have to sneeze all over you. And keep in mind, he's tiny, so a sneeze is like literally you're getting drenched in mucus. So it's like, yeah, no, it's cool. Tell you what, I'll just live in the dollhouse from now on. It's cool. This is a nice area. I'll stay in here with Mr. Pork. I'll just go over to the oven. Actually, have you guys seen the YouTube videos with like tiny eats? Like they have little tiny ovens and they make little tiny pancakes and stuff. Just get one of those for Ichigo. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. We'll just be living in this dollhouse until everything is taken care of. We're good. And then you could release us and I could take a shower and we'll be good. All right. So yeah, really like Riruka's character. Sorry it took me a little while to get this video out, but yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's literally just Ginjo and Jackie, because I talked about everybody else, right? I talked about Shishigawa and Tsukishima. Okay, so we can just flip a coin, honestly. All right, we'll just flip a coin. My lucky 500 yen coin. All right, so we'll go heads for Ginjo and tails for Jackie. So we'll just do that. Okay, cool. Okay, heads Ginjo, tails Jackie. And it is, that's a heads. That's what I said was heads. So, talking about Ginjo next time, and that actually works out great, because I've been reading Can't Fear Your Own World, the light novel, and there's actually a lot of stuff with Ginjo that's talked about in this light novel. I believe there's a little bit more that's expanded upon in volumes 2 and 3 of this, and they're not out in English. So, tell you what, let me know in the description below. Like, give me, like, at least, like, don't have to explain the whole thing, but maybe just like cliff notes, little bullet points, like, okay, Matt, like if you've read all of the novels and everything and you know what's going on with the Camp for Your Own World novels all the way through, maybe leave me a little bullet point list of like, okay, here's what you need to know about Ginjo from the novels. Like this is his backstory, this happened, and then this happened, and then this is where we're at right now. Maybe something like that. So yeah, let me know for that, because with, I could read through the summaries, but there's like a lot of stuff to go with the summaries. It would be maybe easier just for you guys to like let me know. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Also, make sure, check out the Teespring store in the description below to the Barry the Brick Ultimate t-shirts. This is easily the most successful t-shirt I've ever had on the site. I've been doing the t-shirts. I think the first t-shirts we came out with was like in 2018. So like 2 years now. We've had a bunch of different designs since then. We had the, so many dragons. The Geography is Everything shirts. They're still available. I sold over like 100 of these shirts in like the first 12 hours or something. It was ridiculous. So, Barry, man, you are the king of merchandise, it seems. So, if you haven't gotten one, check them out below. Women's and men's comfort tees in a variety of colors are available. Tekking101 signing out. Later, guys.